is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. Bad luck's always coming my way.
For the next couple of days, Jessica and I are going to be tracking down the filming locations to a movie known as Twilight. We're starting this video off at a place called the Silver Falls State Park. This is where they shot the opening sequence, as well as a few other little places. Baby Ghoul, are you up there being a vampire?
No, I'm a bat.
You make a great bat.
Thank you.
You're right. If you were a vampire, at least during this video, you'd be shining in the sun, sparkling even.
Honestly, okay, I'm not gonna lie. I know a lot of people put that part of this movie down, but if I were a vampire who sparkled, I'd kind of be okay with it. I'm just gonna put it out there. Bat.
A lot of time has passed since they made the movie, and we're not entirely sure how much we're going to be able to line up when it comes to lining up shots. But to prove that we're in the right spot, here is a marker from the Oregon Film Trail for Twilight 2008. And as you can see, Jessica's still back there being a bat. This is not going to end. This is going to be all day long, just so you know.
I'm getting my bat on. Ready? I'm a bat. Poof.
We spent a little bit of time walking the trails and driving around the parking lots trying to find where they filmed Twilight, and we have a pretty good idea. Nothing really matches up, but they did film here right by the horse camp as well as Lot F, which is right over there. Let's show you what we mean. The first stop is right back here. There's like this loop at the end of this little road, and we believe this is where they filmed the opening shot where you see the deer at the beginning of the movie.
I'd never given much thought to how I would die. But dying in the place of someone I love seems like a good way to go.
So here we are at the T, getting a little exercise in, the Howard Creek Horse Camp sign. And when we drove by looking around, like kind of scouting the area, it's right down this way right here, off to the left, where we believe they filmed this scene, the opening scenes to Twilight. Again, there's absolutely no way of knowing where they actually filmed unless we were part of the production or we had the location manager with us. But this does feel like we're in the movie. I've been asking you since we've been in the park, do you feel like you're in a Twilight movie yet? Do you?
I do now. I do now.
Now, the woods that's on the other side of Jessica right now, after we see the deer and the deer runs, it kind of looks like this is the area, doesn't it? It kind of looks like it.
It definitely does. If you go back and you look at that very first scene from the movie with the deer running through the woods, it's so shaky. You only get a couple glimpses of really solid, steady views of this forest, but it's meant to be a chaotic scene, and I think they did that pretty well. But it absolutely could be anywhere here in this forest.
Let's see the bat. Now, where the deer was, the opening shots, we think it was filmed right here. Now here is a perfect example of movie magic whenever you go out trying to find the filming locations to the movie. Where we thought it was is not it. In fact, we went walking, we're like, you know what, let's go check over there. We didn't go check over there yet. And we walk over there and wouldn't you know it, we found the exact spot where the opening scenes of Twilight took place. Right here, this is where the water was, where the deer was enjoying a drink of water, if you will. And right where Jessica's standing, you see the pathway that goes over that way? You can see the path in the movie, as well as that giant tree trunk. This is it. How freaking crazy is that? after all this time. And then, whenever the deer is spooked and it runs off, it actually, Jessica's gonna go ahead and run the path of the deer.
Not as quickly.
Runs over that way, right there. And then it gets a little haywire, like we were just talking about. Baby ghoul, this is amazing. I can't believe that we actually found this.
I didn't think we were going to find this literal spot, but we saw kind of a clearing off of the walking path where a bunch of these giant trees have fallen over. And we were talking about how these massive trees, in the roots, it creates a natural little pool. Wouldn't it be cool if it was that one? And we just walked over here and here it was.
Let this be somewhat of a filming location lesson, if you will. Don't always trust everything you see. In doing preparation for this, a lot of people came out here and they just kind of take a camera and they point it out into the woods and they say, this is where they filmed this. We were about to do the same thing because, again, so much time has passed. There's no possible way that this place could still exist. A little bit of a detective work, if you will, getting our feet on the ground and seeing this place with our own two eyes. We found it.
I honestly thought it was going to be man-made. I didn't think it was a natural formation. I honestly thought that where we're standing right now couldn't possibly be natural because it was so perfectly magical and perfectly placed that I really thought it was filmed on a studio lot. Like with Legend, they built that entire forest, the pond, everything was man-made. And being here, every single inch of this forest is covered in moss. I mean, the trees, the ground, I'm sinking in it and I love it because it's so soft and squishy. I can see why people want to come out here. I am fully enchanted. I don't want to leave. I'm a bat. I live here now.
I'm going to try to give you directions to this place. Also, this is an excuse to show you how beautiful this place is. Once you get here to the horse camp, go to the loop right past Lot F. And there's a walking path as well as a road that goes to the right. As soon as you come down that way, start looking on your right-hand side for this. It's massive. Once you see it way off in the distance, it's the first big one that you see. It's kind of a clearing. That's where they filmed it. Even though we were able to miraculously find the opening shots to Twilight, the spider monkey scene is a little harder to find. We watched the scene a couple of different times to see if we can find any kind of landmarks, and sadly, nothing. So from this point on, we're gonna move on. We've got a lot to see. Like I said, we're gonna be doing this for the next couple days. And it's beautiful. What you're looking at right now is a bridge known as Bridge of the Gods. And we're standing on the Oregon side. And over there, across the bridge, is Washington. Now, at the beginning of the movie, Bella and her dad are driving to Forks, Washington, and they cross this bridge. It's a very quick scene. And this is probably the furthest point when it comes to Twilight filming locations. But it's the bridge to Forks, Washington. Here's a fun piece of Twilight trivia. On the other side of that bridge, once you cross it into the state of Washington and go left, that's Highway 14 that runs pretty much the border between Washington State and Oregon. And they actually filmed a lot there. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on, but this is kind of the start of it all.
In the state of Washington, under a near constant cover of clouds and rain, there's a small town named Forks. Population, 3,120 people.
We were first introduced to the town of Forks right at the very beginning of the movie. Population 3,120 people. And a few different vampires. We see this bridge right here as well as those buildings right down there at the end of the street. If I zoom in a little bit, this is it. Even the lampposts on the bridge match up.
My dad's Charlie. He's the chief of police.
Just to be clear, this is the fictional town of Forks. For the movie Twilight, they filmed all over Oregon, California, as well as the state of Washington. But in the movie, this small town is Forks. The street corner that they pass that has all the wooden carved animals on it is this one right here. Now you can see across the street that building that is very colorful. It's got the mural painted on it. In the movie, it was just plain white. And then this stop sign, pay attention to that, because right at the base of it, you see that yellow pole? It's like a circular thing. In the movie, it looks like the stop sign is right in the middle of it, like it's coming out the top. This is it right here. And then we get a shot from right about here as you see the truck pull into frame from the right-hand side. It's a logging truck. That building that's on the right, it says Oregon Lottery. It's still here. The first time we see Bella's house is from right about here. It's an establishing shot. And a lot of the movie actually takes place here, but in this scene, whenever she first arrives to Forks, Washington, her dad in the cop car drives and parks pretty much right where Jessica is. It's a beautiful piece of property, beautiful house.
I used to spend 2 weeks there almost every summer.
We didn't realize that the street that the house is on is a one-way street. It's like a private drive, and they don't really want people parking here. So there's a parking spot at the bottom of the hill, but there's a sign here that says Twilight fans, please park on Columbia Boulevard and walk up for your photos. Also, right next to the driveway is a sign that says Twilight fans, this is a private residence. And it gives a little bit of like some friendly reminders to take some pictures from the road and not step onto the property or trespass in any way, shape, or form. Oh yeah, it's also an Airbnb. Knowing that it's an Airbnb, trust me, we reached out to the owners to see if we can spend the night while we're here filming. But it like books out for an entire year, sometimes even more. And if I'm not mistaken, they're actually doing some renovations on the inside. So I think the Airbnb part of it is closed. But you can always come here and take photos. Our next stop is Carver Cafe. And this is about as close as we're going to get to the shot from the movie. It's still here, it's still called Carver Cafe. Sadly, the Carver Cafe is closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, and at the time of recording this, it is Monday. And by the time it opens up on Wednesday morning, we are going to be long gone. But the window that's right behind Jessica is where they sat in the movie. And if we could go inside right now, they actually have a Twilight guest book that you could sign if you come here and visit while they're open. Like we said, this place is closed Monday and Tuesday, and the rest of the week they're open from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., which means basically this is a breakfast place. But at least we can see the corner that they sat at through the window. Let's see if we can come over this side and peek through the window. Because while they're sitting there on the inside, you can actually see antlers on the wall. All right, we have to scratch it and reverse it. This is future Grimm Life Collective. We are on the way out of town. We just finished filming everything for our Twilight video, and we decided, you know what, let's go and have breakfast at the Carver Cafe. So we're about to go inside. So by the time you watch this, yeah, it's a time travel thing. But we're going inside. Let's go get something to eat.
This is the Twilight guest book that you get to sign. I don't know if you can tell, maybe if I wiggle it, that it actually has a lot of glitter on it. And it's from this year, so I guess I do a new one every year. But what I think is really sweet is the artist is someone who works here.
So we got to sign it. You got to sign it at the Grimm Life Collective?
Yes, I'm going to sign it.
There you go. Make it big and beautiful. You gotta turn it around. The Grimm Life Collective was here. So of course, in the movie, Bella is vegetarian, and I'm trying to be more vegetarian friendly, sometimes even vegan. And on the menu, they had something that was called the Bella Burger, which is the veggie patty that they had here. So I ordered the Bella Burger. What did you order?
Eggs,
Eggs.
bacon,
It's a nice,
sausage link.
it's a breakfast place as well as a lunch place. It smells delicious and everybody here is absolutely friendly.
I just can't get over how grown up you are. And so gorgeous.
And there it is, the corner from the movie. And what's really cool about this, when you come here, especially if you're coming from really far away, it's a small restaurant, so you can actually reserve this table for you and your party. You can sit where they sat in Twilight. And then we get a shot from right about here. And the cameraman had to have had his back in the corner. But you can clearly see where the wall meets the ceiling. It's got like that jagged edge to it. It's here, all of it.
My first day at a new school. It's March, middle of the semester.
And now for Bella's first day at her new school. She drives her truck right up this road right here into the parking lot. And this is about the shot that we get. You see that giant tree on the left-hand side? There is a church back there. The tree has just got a lot bigger since they filmed. But this is about the shot right here. She drives right off screen.
I never thought I'd be this excited to be in a parking lot before. These are kind of big scenes, you know.
Watching this scene, it looks like Bella swings her truck around and she parks right where Jessica's standing in that first parking spot. You see the school from right about here, the steps, everything. One thing I really want to point out, you see that building back there to the right? That wasn't here whenever they filmed. And instead, you can actually see trees, like the tops of trees. You can still see those trees if you look close enough. And then she turns and she walks up to the school for her very first day. You don't actually get to see which side of the steps she walks up. But if we were to walk up the steps like Bella, this is the way that we would have gone. And then she goes over to those steps over there. And we know this because in the very next scene, this is where she meets a classmate.
You're Isabel Swan, the new girl. Hi, I'm Eric, the eyes and ears of this place.
The first time you see these steps at the school is whenever Bella first arrives on her first day of class and she finds out about the school newspaper. In fact, where I am sitting is where they were standing in this scene. You can actually see that overhang, including that box right there in this scene. You make a beautiful bat.
Anything you need? Tour guide, lunch date, shoulder to cry on?
The second time you see these steps is whenever she gets to school and it's raining. You see everybody walking pretty much right where Jessica is with umbrellas.
Prom committee is a chick thing, but I gotta cover it for the paper anyway, and they need a guy to help choose some music.
Whenever you see the quick scenes that happen here in the school parking lot, the Cullens are always parked up in this corner, either here in front of the stairs or the first car in. Now the scene that matters, the one from the parking lot you're all here to see, he is absolutely standing right here next to this wall. And Bella is parked in the farthest spot, literally across the parking lot. They show a couple of quick clips of them staring back and forth at each other. He's staring at her, she's staring at him, almost as if they're waiting for them to do something. Nothing happens, so she turns her back to him. She starts to get her backpack together off the back of her truck. And they made a point at showing how big this parking lot was and how wet it was. As soon as she turns her back, a car comes barreling down this road right here, almost hits another car, you hear the horn, and that's when it comes directly for her, and she's saved with his hand in the side of the truck.
Here's a different angle of that scene. There's that road to your right where that car would have come down, heading straight for Bella. And then you see that wall way over there on the other side of the parking lot. That's where Edward comes from, and he saves her pretty much right over here next to where this truck is parked, in this parking spot. Pretty neat.
I heard the chief's daughter was here.
Oh, Dr. Cullen.
Charlie?
This next location visit is going to be a rather quick one. This building that's right behind Jessica is where they filmed the hospital scenes in Twilight. In fact, the hallway where Bella and Edward have their conversation is that one right there.
This is the scene where Bella's already been checked out, she's fine. And she's peeking at Edward from around this corner. He sees her and he walks over. And she wants some answers, right? Like, how did you get to me so fast? And he's like, Bella, I was standing right next to you. You hit your head, you're confused. And she's like, no, I know what I saw.
How did you get over to me so fast?
I was standing right next to you, Bella.
No. You were next to your car.
We gotta go. Green is what? Good, let's go.
The next stop on our Twilight filming locations tour brings us to an actual greenhouse, which is this greenhouse right here, this building. It's the one closest to us. Now, in the movie, they actually go to a greenhouse for a field trip, right? Mm-hmm. Tell us about this scene.
The cliff notes, the Grimm notes, as
The
it
Grimm
were.
notes, yeah, I like that. Cliff notes, Grimm notes.
Grimm notes. So, to make it short, this is the first interaction they have after he infamously saves her life. We all know the scene. Stopped the truck, barehanded. And she's like, you've been avoiding me. And he's like, hello. And she's like, I want an explanation. He says, I love this so much, I had an adrenaline rush. You can Google it. And then she slips again. He says, can you at least watch where you're going? And then she's all, oh my God, you shouldn't have saved my life then because you just regret it. And he's like, what are you saying? How dare you, etc. And then you can't sit with us on the bus. Bye.
I like it. That's perfect. You should write movies.
No, no, but thank you.
I had an adrenaline rush. It's very common. You can Google it.
The greenhouse from the movie is right in the center of your screen. It actually has a sign right above the door that says Greenhouse Number 2, and you can see it clear as day behind the characters as they come out from it, walking back towards the bus. You could even see that little pipe coming out from the front and going up to the top like a chimney.
Bella, look, it's a worm. It's a worm.
In fact, if you watch this scene, you can actually see Greenhouse Number 1 and Greenhouse Number 2 as the camera backs up and Bella and Edward walk towards the camera. And if I were to keep going into the parking lot here, this is where they would have one of the school buses on the left and one of the school buses on the right.
Bella, we shouldn't be friends.
You really should have figured that out a little earlier.
Now this is a special treat. While we're outside filming, being respectful because you saw the caution tape, the administrative assistant for the community college here, her name is Loretta, she came out and said, do you guys want to see the inside of the greenhouse? And we're like, heckins yes. So they actually used both greenhouses. This one here, Greenhouse Number 2, which can be seen exteriors. This is where a lot of the conversations took place, a lot of the dialogue between the characters.
Look, I'm sorry I'm being rude all the time. I just think it's the best way.
Bella, guess who just asked me to prom?
The compost tea is that one over there. I'm going to show it to you. Of course we're going to show it to you. This is really neat. Right now we're standing in Greenhouse Number 1, and right over here to the right of Jessica, this is where they had the compost tea scene.
Yes, very good, very good. Now, I'm gonna make a steaming cup of compost tea. Give me that. Yeah, this is recycling in its most basic form. Guys, don't drink it.
She was really so sweet, and thank you very much. She let me smell some flowers, and during conversation, she pointed out one more thing I'd like to show you if you follow me.
This is really neat. We would have had no clue, like none the wiser.
You can't see it that clearly, but in the film, that is the actual compost machine they're using to produce the compost tea.
Right there, you see how it looks like a giant pot on a little stand right there? Man, that's cool.
One last thing, say it with me guys, compost is what? Compost is good.
We are introduced to the La Push scene from right about here. This is the establishing shot. It's a beautiful ocean view. Wouldn't you say so, baby girl?
It's La Push, baby, La Push. If you're a Twilighter, you'll totally get that. It's La Push, baby, La Push.
And then we get a shot from the parking lot. You see cars parked pretty much right where I am. And then you see where Jessica's standing? You can see the ocean, the fence, the rocks out in the ocean, and that one right there is actually called Submarine Rock. Now, if you watch this scene very closely, oh, it's right there in the front, there's somebody waxing their surfboard. And would you look at that? There's actually somebody here waxing their surfboard. We had no control over this. It's just happenstance.
Paddling out, folks.
I don't know if it's worth it anymore.
But before we head down to the beach itself, let's just take a moment and look at this. Just take it in. Absolutely gorgeous. Got these nice little steps that go down through the woods down to the water. This is a perfect day to do this scene. It's not too cold, it's not too sunny, it's just nice. All right, baby girl, we gotta see the bat here at the beach. Go for it. Oh, that's perfect. Right about there. There you go. How fitting, how beautiful. Real quickly, the fun thing about this, if we were to go down the beach, down the shore that way, for a little bit of time, you're entering Goonies territory. They filmed in the same state park, just a little further down. Pretty neat, right? Might be a little hard to see, but I'm gonna try to zoom in as best as I possibly can. But right about there out in the water is a lighthouse. At first I thought it was a ship whenever you watch the movie, but it's a lighthouse and a rock next to it. And you can see that in the background as two surfers are in the water. Now there are surfers in the water here, but not in the shot for us. How crazy is that? Before Jessica comes out here and tells us a little bit about this scene, this is the shot that we're looking for. You see that rock right there, you see those rocks, and then you see this little nub off in the distance as Jacob and Bella walk towards the camera. So what happened here, baby girl?
Essentially, they meet up in the parking lot, they start walking on the beach, and Jacob is telling Bella the origins of his tribe and the story of the Pale Faces.
What did your friends mean about, you know, the Cullens don't come here?
You caught that, huh?
And then from right about here is the shot we get of Bella and Jacob walking down the beach. It's a beautiful scene. Now before we leave, I want to go ahead and point out a few of the different movies that were filmed here. There's a big one on the left that says Point Break 1991, Indian Beach, stood in for Bells Beach, Australia, and the stormy finale of Point Break where Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze had their final showdown. And then Did You Know Twilight characters Jacob and Bella walked along the sands at Indian Beach to the special driftwood tree, which is what we were just doing. And then right over here, it talks about Kindergarten Cop, The Goonies, which we did a video on. If you haven't watched that, I'm gonna put the link below. Twilight film location, which is what we just did. And at some point, we'll have to come back for Point Break, but not today. If you've seen a little movie called Halloween Town, does this place look familiar? Right now, we're in St. Helens, where they filmed a lot of Halloween Town, but this is also where they filmed some scenes, some big scenes for Twilight. And would you look at this? Right in front of the Courthouse Museum, right in the square, there's a little plaque here that says Debbie Reynolds, April 1st, 1932, for the movie Halloween Town, St. Helens, Oregon. We found another plaque from the Oregon Film Trail for Twilight. This one here says, many scenes were filmed here in this town, such as the restaurant where Edward tells Bella he can read minds, the bookstore, Bella's house, and the dress shop. Also, the alley where Edward saved Bella. We're gonna talk about it all. You know what, baby girl? If it was up to me, you'd be doing the bat in every single scene from this movie.
It's fun.
Now, what happened in this store that's behind you?
This store is where they filmed the prom dress shopping. It all took place in this window. The name of the store is called Petite Jolie. And Bella didn't actually stay very long here while her friends were shopping for the prom because she's not really into the prom. She even said she's not going to prom. She excuses herself. She'll meet them later for food. And that's when she goes to the bookstore.
You wanna go inside?
Yeah.
See what we can line up?
You wouldn't need jewelry. Just, what do you think? Lavender? Is that good? Is that my color? I like it. I liked that dusty rose one too. Okay, I like
The window that they were sitting in would have been this one right here. In fact, Bella would have been sitting over on this side. You can see the curve, well, the angle in the window, and her friends on the right-hand side near the shirts trying on dresses. And what's fun about this, if we come all the way up to the window here, you can see the Courthouse Museum all the way across the street, and that could be seen in this shot as well.
Meet you guys at the restaurant?
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
And then the bookstore from the movie that Bella goes to right after the prom dress scene is right up here at the top of this hill. It's a house on the left-hand side, but I also want to point this out. You see the sign? Welcome to Halloween Town. So there's that. And then right over here, let me go ahead and lift the camera up. This was the bookstore. All of this is within like the same proximity. So it all makes sense. For continuity, it all makes sense. From right about here is where we get the establishing shot for the Thunderbird and Whale bookstore. And the weeds and trees have overgrown it so much that you can't even see the house really. But it was from right about here. In this scene, Bella's leaving the bookstore and it's night, and she comes to an alleyway, and this is where she encounters a few unsavory characters. Now, this is the alleyway that she was walking down, and we know this because if you look down, you'll see this very distinctive pattern in the concrete. Walking down the alleyway, she stops because she sees two people come into frame at the very end. And it's from right about here. It's an over-the-shoulder camera like angle, like a view. But this is it right here. The camera turns again, and this time we get a better shot of the walkway and the very distinctive pattern in the concrete as Bella turns. And then she walks off to the right to the very next scene. And these guys, these unsavory characters, actually follow her.
Bella comes walking across this parking lot to escape the guys in the alley, and she doesn't get far before more of them come out of the shadows over here.
Oh, there she is. What's up, girl? How you guys doing? What's up, girl?
You can still line up the building because the shape hasn't changed and the signs are still painted on the side. Now they start to all circle her. She's very uncomfortable. She says, "Don't touch me." They're making very creepy comments, you know, about their intentions. And then a car comes just spinning around the corner here into the parking lot, probably about right where I'm standing. And it's Edward. He gets out of the car and tells her, "Get in the car." She doesn't really question it. She gets in the car and sees him confront the boys, who back down.
Get in the car.
Bella and Edward come flying right down this street right here. In fact, if we zoom in a little bit, you can actually see some of the storefronts as they come driving right down towards where I am. And also, if we're to keep going down this road, on the right is the movie theater that can be seen. We're basically just walking the town. It's kind of park and just kind of walk and see everything. This is the theater that can be seen in the background as they're driving down the road. And of course, Jessica's got to be the bat. While driving, they have a little bit of a back and forth about putting on their seatbelt. And then the very next scene we see in the movie is of this house right here. This was the Bloated Toad restaurant.
Hey, you guys, I'm sorry.
Where were you? We left you messages.
Yeah, we waited, but we were like starving, so we...
This is essentially where Bella and Edward have their first date. I am a little disappointed, I'm going to admit. I was hoping this was still a little restaurant and cafe because I wanted to eat here. It looked really sweet inside during the movie. Bella orders her mushroom ravioli, and they discuss how Edward has mental capabilities. He can read minds. And she has him read the minds of everyone in the room, and it's sex, sex, money, cat, sex, money. And then does she think something's wrong with her because he can't read her mind?
We now find ourselves in the town of Vernonia. The building you're looking at right now is a credit union, but in the movie Twilight, this was the sheriff's station.
Whoa. What is going on? My dad's still here.
It's my father's car in the end.
Edward is driving Bella home from their first date at the cafe, and she notices that her dad's car is still here and asks him to pull in. As he does, he notices that also his dad's car is here. I kind of infamously call this the "hey, that's my dad" and "hey, that's my dad" scene.
And then we get a shot from right about here. It's a bit of a close-up of the sheriff's station. And there's a few things that we want to point out, even on the inside. They actually filmed inside this building.
Hey, that's my dad. Hey, that's my dad.
Wayland Forge was found in a boat out near his place. I just examined the body.
While Jessica takes the time to smell the flowers, there's one thing we want to point out. The flowers were actually covering the name of this building. It's the Wauna Credit Union, I think it is. But in the movie, this is exactly where the Forks Police Department sign was. All right, let's go inside because we're going to take a look at where they actually filmed. If you watch this scene very closely, you'll see that they filmed right over here at this end cubicle. Man, just this one little spot. It was a nighttime scene.
Hey.
Hey.
Our next Twilight location is a rather small one in the grand scheme of things. And before Jessica starts talking about what happened in this building that you're looking at right now, I want to draw your attention to the roof. Both sides of it. You see that point right there, as well as this point. You can see that clearly in the movie very quickly for an establishing shot.
This is a really short and sweet scene. It's an establishing shot to let you know that these are the bad guys. It's James, Laurent, and Victoria, essentially out getting lunch. They come here. You don't see exactly what this building is. It looks like just an old factory building, and they are on the hunt. They kill a worker here. You know, you see his hard hat and all that, and there's a chase. And that's really it. Ooh, lunch. Back.
There's a bit of a waterfall over there. It really is something else. You know, Jessica and I have traveled the country quite a bit. We've been pretty much everywhere. But there's really no place that looks like Oregon.
Nothing that looks like this, that's for sure. We've even been to the Hoover Dam and things like that, which I think this is a waterway. This is stunning, and it's still in use today from what I can tell, and it's beautiful to see. I can't take my eyes off of it.
Just a heads up, this building is on private property, which means there's absolutely no way anybody's going to be able to get down there and get the same shot from the movie. So we did the next best thing. We found higher ground. The building that's right behind me, this is the VFW. So if you do decide to come here to visit the spot, park here. And also, there's this really nice little land bridge that kind of takes you out and over it. It's a beautiful sight. And we get a shot from right about here. There used to be a mural over on the left-hand side. It is no longer here. They actually have it in safekeeping. They bring it out for special events. But they walk right up this hillside into the woods. And now there's a black fence, the chain link fence there that prevents people from going up there. But this is it.
You're impossibly fast and strong. Your skin is pale white and ice cold. Your eyes change color. And sometimes you speak like you're from a different time.
We now find ourselves in Oxbow Regional National Park, walking through the woods in search of a location that Twilight fans call the Say It Out Loud scene. We kind of have an idea. We talked to a few different park rangers and they kind of pointed us in the right direction, but this is kind of like a scavenger hunt. I didn't catch her name, but there was one park ranger who kind of pointed us specifically to a log that can be seen in the movie. And if we keep walking this way, we should run into it, but they filmed all throughout this area.
The plants are taller than me.
Yeah, they are.
Wow.
So the log should be straight back there. Right, this is pretty wild.
It's deep.
Let's see the bat. I just can't get enough of that. As Jessica walks over there and gets into position, this is the log that they walk right past. And when we were walking back here, immediately I thought, wow, it's a lot bigger in the movies than in real life. But then you have to realize that over time, things just kind of deteriorate. But they would have been walking right towards where I am with this log to the side. It's crazy that it's still here.
Going? Up the mountain, out of the cloud bank. You need to see what I look like in the sunlight.
This is a pretty big scene for a lot of fans. I think it's probably one of the most quoted, even if in humor. But what a beautiful place for it to take part in. It just fits so perfectly.
Our journey into the world of Twilight now brings us to a place known as the Stone Cliff Inn. And what's really interesting about this place, they filmed some pretty key scenes here. And they got signs that tell you where everything is. It kind of directs you to where you need to be.
I really love seeing things like this where people have a little bit of pride that something was filmed in their area. So they've put these up and we'll see things along the way. But what I love the most is that they included some of the behind the scenes of the crew. I like things like that, behind the movie magic. So today we're going to be seeing the unveiling, Sparkle Sparkle, I Thought You Didn't Like Me, The Lion and the Lamb, that's a lot of people's favorite, I think, Your Strength Doesn't Scare Me, and then when he's jumping around trying to scare her.
A lot of times whenever we do these film and location videos, we come here with pictures and video. Very rarely do we ever see anything like this. But I will say this though, the only time we've ever really seen it done awesomely is in Oregon. All right, baby girl, tell us what happened in this scene, the Grimm notes, if you will.
If I have to say, I would say that this is maybe the most important part of the film. It's certainly the most controversial part of the film that even if you're not a Twilight fan, you've talked about it, it's still being commented about today. You guys know what it is. Vampire Sparkle.
So let's go ahead and walk this scene. This rock right here can be seen in this picture that the Stone Cliff Inn provided. And you can actually see part of the script. But in order to get the actual shot of the scene, we have to come back here. Now I'm going to line it up, but right where Jessica is standing is where Bella would have been standing in this scene. And in order to get this exact shot, we kind of have to step right back here. Let's see. something very similar to that. Again, Jessica is standing where Bella was, and up there on the rock is where Edward would have been standing. All right, do the bat.
This is what I am. This is the skin of a killer, Bella.
That's awesome. The famed sparkling in the sunlight scene, and you're standing right there.
I did bring something for this scene, but it's very overcast here in Oregon. I brought a glitter spray.
You gotta spray your hand or something.
I'll spray my hand. Initially, I was going to spray my face, and I think that's just not.
Well, initially, remember when we started talking about doing this video, when we announced it, I was gonna cover my entire body with glitter. But that was not gonna happen. Oh, there you go. You can see it somewhat.
It doesn't have as much glitter in it as I thought, and we have no sun here. It's eternally overcast, which is rather nice, but it smells good. Pumpkin. Pumpkin.
At the end of this scene, he says, "It's the skin of a killer, Belle." And he says, "I'm a killer." And as he does this, he walks by this very interesting looking tree, which is right over here. You see how it kind of curves out and angles up? That all happened right here. It's a very quick scene as he walks right around it.
I'm a killer.
I don't believe that.
This is pretty much that exact shot right here from this scene. And then they continue walking right over this way in front of the trees as well as the rock. You can see right where Jessica is. You can see Edward stepping over the roots right there. And then right in front of this very interesting rock formation is where we get the next scene. In fact, if we turn the camera a little bit this way, you can see the tree on the left-hand side in it as well.
It's because you believe the lie. It's camouflage.
If you pay attention to the tree behind me, you can see this is the scene where while they're walking, they kind of pause and he describes why he's a predator. It's his face, his smell, everything is designed to invite you in. And then he dashes off to prove it to her some more.
As if you could outrun me!
So Edward darts off camera and then he starts jumping around and he ends up landing up there on top of that rock that can be seen off in the distance. It's pretty distinctive. And Jessica's standing pretty much right where Bella was standing. And she's looking around confused because she hears him and he's jumping from rock to rock. She has no idea where he's at. And then he jumps down in front of her, pretty much right where Jessica is. And you can actually see that tree that's about the middle of your screen, right between the rocks. And you see the rock that's behind Jessica, how it has a little bit of like whiteness on it. That can be seen. And then Edward reaches out and he rips a tree branch or a tree trunk and he throws it. And how funny is it? It looks like there's a hole right there where he grabbed the tree branch.
As if you could fight me off.
I'm sure no tree was harmed in the making of this film.
Even though they have signs throughout the forest here that directs you to different scenes that were filmed here, they don't really all add up or line up perfectly. So you kind of have to do the legwork and walk around. It looks like with some fancy camera work, basically Bella pretty much stands in one place the entire time and it's Edward who's jumping around from tree to tree, rock to rock, from scene to scene. So if you were to put Bella right where Jessica is standing right now, you get this shot a few different times. One, whenever Edward, he lands in about the tree branch right about there.
We learn to control our thirst.
And then in the very next scene, he hops down and he's crouched right on this tree branch right here.
I did. Only for making me want you so badly.
I never thought I would say that a tree branch could be so important to a film, but right here is where Edward is crouching when he's telling Bella how good she smells. She's like, "Why don't you like me?" And he's like, "Girl, you smell so good."
He's like, oh, sparkly vampire, I love you.
But no, seriously, this is where he's crouching when he's telling her that it's not that he didn't like her, it's that she smells so good, he wants her blood so badly that she's like a drug to him. And then she comes up really close to his face, and the entire scene, they look like they're about to kiss in like 8 different places. And he's like, stop, I'm dangerous. She's like, no, I don't care.
Why did you hate me so much when we met?
I did.
Looks like there's one more location here that we need to point out, and that's this one right here. Why don't you tell us about this one, Baby Ghoul?
Let me get in place for a little bit of a dramatic flair. Ready?
Yeah.
This is where they walk down, literally just around the rock. He leans in close and puts his hands around her, and they have the whole lion and lamb exchange.
I can't read your mind. You have to tell me what you're thinking.
I think that's about it for our time here at the Stone Cliff Inn. Absolutely love that they have this going on. Like I said, come out here, get your pictures, be respectful, and explore a little bit. It is absolutely gorgeous here in the woods. Well, let's see here. Right now, we are in Portland. I mean, right in the heart of Portland, standing right out front of the house used for the Cullen family. But we can't show it to you because, well, you just can't see it from the road. I don't know if you ever could, but as of today, you can kind of make it out through the trees if you look close enough, but you can't get a good shot of it. What you're looking at right now is the driveway and the front gate that goes up to the Cullen house. There are no trespassing private property signs everywhere, but if you look right about the center of your screen, let me zoom in here a little bit. You can kind of see the tan wood color right about the center of your screen through the trees. That is part of the house. That is all you can see from the road. So if you want to come out here and visit the house, use your own discretion, but this is it. We are now in search of a place called the Camp Horn Overlook, where they filmed the Treetop scene. And it really feels like we're in the middle of nowhere. We're like the only people out here exploring. The only way the Grimm Life Collective knows how. So it's got to be back here somewhere. We just passed a little sign that said trail with an arrow pointing this way. It's like deeper into the forest we go. It took a little bit of exercising to get here, but what you're looking at right now is the Cape Horn Overlook. Basically an overlook that looks the entire gorge, the river, the mountains, I mean anything and everything. And here's what's special about this. This is where they filmed the close-up scenes of Bella and Edward in the treetops.
What?
This isn't real. This kind of stuff just doesn't exist.
Does in my world.
Before coming here, Jessica and I did a ton of research trying to figure out which tree Bella and Edward were actually in for the close-ups. Some websites say it was the tree on the left. Other websites say it was the tree on the right. I will tell you this, looking at the scene, like really looking at it and standing here, looking at all the trees, it's almost impossible to figure out which tree they were actually in. I'll tell you this for certain though, these 4, you can see these clear as day in the movie. It could be that the tree is no longer here, but it does look like in the movie that the one that they used would have been right here to the tree on the right. Because if you look very, very closely, it looks like there's like a double trunk to it. If it's not this one, the tree is no longer here, it would be on the right-hand side. And I say this because you see that the green patch of grass that's way off in the distance down on the ground? You can see that behind them. And then if we turn the camera over this way, just a little bit, You can see that mountain off in the distance as well. This is definitely it. This is where they get the scenes of them on top of the mountain, on top of the treetops, looking down. With anything really, I mean, things change. It could have been one of these trees. It might not have been one of these trees. Don't think it was a prop tree. If I'm not mistaken, at one point in doing research, I actually found behind the scenes photo of the crew standing here building a bit of a platform right behind me. Right now I'm walking on the wall of that circle. But there's something very interesting here that a lot of people say is the tree that they were in. I don't know if it was the tree for the close-ups. It might have been a tree that shows them climbing up. Like well, let me show you what I mean and I'll tell you the story. You see where Jessica's sitting in the center of your screen? On either side of her, there's these big trees. There's two on the left, well, technically there's three, and then there's two on the right. This tree right here has something very interesting attached to it. For this, we got to go a little further up the hillside into the woods. And look at the tree from the other side. There's Jessica sitting right there. This is the tree that we were just pointing out. Now, if I lift the camera up, do you see it? Here, let me get over a little bit. Piece of wood attached to this side of the tree. Supposedly, people come out here and they say that this is part of the harness or part of the platform where they shot those scenes. The piece of wood in question is right about there. Now, of course, time has passed. They could very well have been up inside this tree for the close-ups, but I don't think so. There's a behind-the-scenes video that was shot with Edward carrying Bella on his back, and he tells her to hold on, and then they go up the tree in like a pulley system. If anything, I think this tree was that. Again, I could be wrong, but actually just being here and watching the scene and just trying to figure out the logistics of it, this would make sense. Again, this is just all speculation. We weren't there when they made the movie. But if that's the case, it would make sense that they would have done these close-up shots right down here in these trees symbolizing the treetops. Easier to get to the actors to get what they need. And those trees back then would have been a lot smaller. Our journey now brings us to a place known as Multnomah Falls, which can be seen in the background during the vampire baseball game. Just look how massive that is. It has an actual bridge up there with people on it, even though it looks very small. It kind of makes you think of like Disney and forced perspective, but it's massive. Now, if you look very closely off in the distance during the vampire baseball scene, you can see the straight line, the vertical line of this waterfall, which is actually across the river. And it's gorgeous. Man.
There was a few scenes done here that didn't make it into the movie. Bella and Edward are standing right here, kind of sharing a romantic moment. You can make out the falls behind me and the rock formation. And there's even a picture of the crew standing right around where Michael is as they film the scene.
There's a shot of Edward and Bella standing pretty much right where I am. You can see the waterfall right behind them splitting the screen. It's definitely a sight to see. It's a short hike up to the bridge, so we're gonna do it. I mean, we have to. Get a good view of the waterfall as well as over top the river. And hopefully we can see the Shire where they had the vampire baseball scene. It's really not that bad of a walk back here, or up here. The bridge is right there, and as soon as we turn the corner here, you're gonna start to see the falls. Just look at that. It's enough to take your breath away, isn't it? And you see the river off in the distance. On the other side of the river is where they shot the vampire baseball scenes. It's a private property, a nature reserve or preserve. Reserve or preserve? I never
Reserve.
remember.
I think.
But you can't get back there. We tried, we reached out to the owners, and this is as close as we're gonna get, standing on that bridge, that famed bridge from the Twilight waterfall. We're getting ready to leave this area and just finally give up about visiting the Shire where they played the vampire baseball game, and something miraculous happened. We were able to get down here on the baseball field. And that's where I'm standing right now. There's the river and the waterfall is way over there. The sun has come out. It's kind of magical. Wait till you see this.
Right about where I'm standing right now is where you get that beautiful scene of Edward and Bella walking together with the waterfall behind them in the distance. But if you turn and look directly behind me, where the grass is very tall, for me it's about chest high, is where they actually played the vampire baseball game right in this open field. And the Jeeps would have come in here, and I believe that is the tree everyone talks about back in the corner.
If you look about the center of your screen, let me zoom all the way in here. That's the tree we were talking about. See what I mean? There's no getting back there. This grass is up to my shoulders and I'm 6'2", so it's about 6 feet tall. So far, this by far has to be my favorite part of the Twilight filming location video that we're doing. This is just beautiful here. The baseball game wasn't the only thing that was filmed here at the Shire. There's another scene where Bella and Edward are sitting on rocks overlooking the water in the rain. That happened just beyond those trees, but the water level's too high and we can't get back there. So it is what it is. Right now, we are standing in front of what was Mimi's ballet studio in the movie Twilight. So tell us a little bit about this building, the Grimm notes, if you will.
Okay, epic Grimm notes, real short and simple. This is the fight scene. It's really cool to be here. I'm really curious if it was ever a dance studio because I want to see the inside. And, you know, this is where James loses his head. Literally. You see this building really only very briefly, kind of like an establishing shot of where the dance studio is. And this would be the door that she walked into.
I can't bring myself to regret the decisions that brought me face to face with death. They also brought me to Edward.
We walked around this entire building to see if we can look inside, to see if anything matches up. And not really. I mean, there's a few different scenes that happen very quickly where it looks like you can see these windows. But that's about it. It used to be in an upholstery factory.
I think that this building really was just used as an establishing shot. I think that entire scene was likely filmed in a studio because during the epic battle scene, you know, the floor comes up, they break all the mirrors and the glasses, and as far as I can tell, in their ballet studio in the movie, they don't have a second floor. This place definitely has always had a second floor.
The building you're looking at right now is looking like it's getting a bit of a facelift. For as far back as I can remember, this building was abandoned. It was left to rot, but this is where they filmed the prom scenes in the movie Twilight. Now, Baby Gold, do you have some Grimm notes, if you will, about this place?
Grimm
what
notes.
happened here?
Okay, let's see if I can give you a Grimm notes version. The scene in the movie, final chapter. Bella's out of the hospital, her leg is broken, so she's in a cast. And it's prom. Monte Carlo is the same. Bond, James Bond, which I think is really cute. And Bella knows what she wants. Edward, forever. Turn me into a vampire, I want to be like you. And he's like, can't I just live with you for a while? Watch you age? No, it's not what I want.
I love your Grimm notes.
They're not always short version, I must admit, but they really closed the chapter without an answer. She wants to be like him. And he says, can't I just have this? And she says, for now. Break for second movie.
I can't believe you're making me do this.
Smile.
Pretty much all of the filming took place on this side of the house. They had it all decked out really nicely. Inside, of course, but right over here, about the center of your screen in the grass, is where they had the gazebo. It's a very beautiful scene. In fact, we were watching it driving up here, and I was like, man, there's just something very magical about watching this and being here where they filmed it. Can you imagine? And then it looks like over here, they had some sort of pond at one point. And what a view. Chances are, whether you like the movie Twilight or not, or you make fun of it, or whatever, it's a pretty big deal, especially whenever it came out, and today, it's still a big deal. It's a fun movie. And you know what? I've seen the movie countless times, Jessica has seen the movie countless times, but ducking underneath the tree. There's just something very special about watching it in the town that it was filmed. I mean, this movie was filmed all over the place, but just being here, before we shot this one segment, we watched it, and I remember thinking, wow, how magical and beautiful this place is. And it is. There's Jessica being a bat again, this time at the prom scene.
I have one for you too.
You got a dandelion for me?
Yes. Do it together?
Sure.
Ready?
All right, ready?
You ate it?
I thought it would be kind of fun to just kind of blow it off screen so you could just kind of see them flying everywhere, and the wind blew it back into my mouth. Like, they do not taste good.
I'm sure they don't.
I feel like that was well deserved, because last time we did a video, Stand By Me filming locations, and you were getting ready to blow it, and I said I thought you were going to eat it. Of course, the wind is like, well, no, Michael, you're going to eat the dandelion, and I did.
Off camera, he tried to convince me to eat one.
Oh, man.
He did.
With that being said, thank you for joining us on another Grimm adventure, this time telling the story of Twilight by visiting the filming locations. It's been pretty magical.
It's beautiful here.
Right?
It really is.
First time this side of Oregon. We went up to Mount Hood before, but never this far north, and dipped into Washington, and it's been a trip.
Magical.
Until next time,
Rawr.
happy Halloween.
Wherever I come, bad luck is coming my way. Wherever I go, hard luck is there to stay. Good luck never stays a day. A bad luck's always coming my way.